Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about the New York Knickerbockers, the New York Knicks offseason recap, talking about everything they've done since losing in the playoffs, firing Tom Thibodeau, hiring Mike Brown, who they drafted, Mohamed Diarra out of Cloette, and a switch big, kind of like a Chris Boucher, similar vein as that, as well as a few moves that they made in free agency. So, if you're a Knicks fan or a Knicks hater, whatever it may be, what's your thoughts on this? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit that like and subscribe button, as it'll help out the channel a ton. So let's get right into what have the New York Knicks done. And do you guys like it? Now, I like bringing in Mike Brown, okay? You bring in a guy who's been a part of many championship teams, not only the Warriors as their offense and defensive coordinator, but for Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs of the 2000s dynasty, two dynasties. And Coach LeBron multiple times. Took him to the 07 finals where he lost, but they re-signed Mikal Bridges, who might fade away from every shot. But what were they going to do? Were they going to go out and get somebody else? Were they not? At least they keep him here and have the ability to trade him if they need to. And this is actually reportedly about $6 million below the max salary that he could have taken. They secure a guy who's an all defensive caliber player, two-way wing in his prime. And yes, he's playoff tested, might have some flaws, but they keep this core intact while managing the luxury tax pressure. I guess the sphere is paying off for James Dolan, helping fund those luxury tax bills. So what do they do with their limited resources? It's not hard to get people to come to play in New York if you didn't think about it, but they got themselves Jordan Clarkson. Yeah, that would have sounded better a few years ago when he had just won Sixth Man of the Year, but he still can score, and that's something that they needed off the bench. A guy that could score when Jalen Brunson sits. And Jordan Clarkson, yeah, he's not going to create, but the guy's going to put up shots, and some nights it'll be great, some nights it won't be, but he's a proven bench scorer, a former Sixth Man of the Year. He'll fill the second unit scoring gap that got exposed in the playoffs. Now, guerschon Yabusele, I interviewed him right before free agency in Treviso, Italy, when I went to Eurocamp for Adidas this past year for the second time. Shout out Adidas for that. Now, we all knew he was going to leave, but did we think he was going to go to New York? And they get themselves a guy who could play. He's a switch big. He can be a small ball five, more of a pure power forward, can moonlight at the 3 on a big ball lineup where you'll probably see a Karl-Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, guerschon Yabusele, maybe OJ Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, or Josh Hart at the point guard position. He brings in versatility on both sides of the ball. He's a forward that can rebound, space the floor, be a point of attack defender, interior defender. This gives the Knicks needed depth. They bring in experienced players who have played playoff minutes, can be counted on, and probably would be starters on other teams. Maybe not Jordan Clarkson, but definitely guerschon. And both players answer bench scoring as well as some defense. I don't think that this is like terrible. I think this is fine. I think they did what they had to do. And I think there's still some moves that they need to make. But the fact that they didn't really have any departures in Kevin McCullough and the other young guys that in Marjon Beauchamp seemingly might be coming back on two ways, they were able to retain their main rotation. They're still building out the roster, but continuity having the stability instead of overhauling and retooling the roster and keeping the chemistry that they're building was seemingly what they were looking to achieve this year. So Mohamed Diarra, the Frenchman who played for Cloette, he's kind of was a combo forward for them, but the way that I view him, he's kind of an in-between between like Chris Boucher and Dupree. I don't think he's a natural 5, but if they bulk him out, he could play some small ball 5. He's going to be a 4 combo forward. Maybe he ends up playing more 3 than we think, but he's a low-risk developmental swing that he's a decent rebounder, decent defender. Nothing really stands out. He's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. With the current roster, as we mentioned, it seems like Kevin McCullough, Marjon Beauchamp. I don't know who else will fill out the end of the roster, but those are some of the players that they have discussed. I wouldn't be surprised if someone from CAA comes in and gives them a few veterans. Now, look, Kevin McCullough is probably going to be on two-way. I think Marjon's going to get a roster spot. And Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, guerschon, yabusele, Jordan Clarkson, Deuce McBride are probably going to be in the 9-man rotation with Tyler Kolek, Pacome, Diarra, Hukporti, and whoever else they bring in being more of the end of the bench guys, which Landry Shamet and Matt Ryan are 2 other guys that I wouldn't be surprised end up rounding that out, and with maybe Marjon Beauchamp being the 15th guy and Kevin McCullough probably being the second two-way, third two-way is maybe still up in the air, though I'm looking for a big man. But look, this is a team, their payroll currently at $204 million, means that they owe $29.7 million in luxury tax payment this year. They're over the first apron and under the second apron by about $3.7 million. They have dead money of $26.7 million between cap holds and other players that they have money owed to over the next few seasons. And despite being deep in the tax territory, they've avoided the harsher second apron, which has punitive restrictions like the repeater tax and, freezing draft picks. They're able to not worry about that. And the Knicks added depth. They needed that. And they didn't lose anybody by doing so. They give Bridges an extension that wasn't the max. They saved money. You got Clarkson and Yabusele, which made the team somewhat deeper, gave them an actual 9-man rotation that's competent and useful for a coach like Mike Brown, who's somewhat of a pretty good defensive coach who has some offensive ingenuity. I believe Chris Gent's going to be their offensive coordinator. Yeah, the finances remain tight. They might make a move like move Mitchell Robinson to navigate the constraints effectively, but I think, yeah, it wasn't flashy, but they're still a contender, and the foundation they've built upon is one that should have success. Getting the defense and stopping the bleeding that happens when Jalen Brunson is on the floor and when Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are on the floor together, because the team is better when it's just Towns and everybody else except Brunson. But when Brunson and Towns are there, it's pretty bad together, and then when it's just Brunson, it's also pretty bad. But the core is good. They upgraded the bench scoring, and they got some depth in the front court, and they got some wings. They stayed below the very, very stringent second apron, or the second apron, which causes stringent penalties. So the Knicks chose, obviously, to be a bit financially disciplined this year and go with continuity over making another splashy move as they aim to build a sustainable contender. Now, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts. We made it to the end. I think this is a team that, if we're looking at everything, they're still probably going to make another move. They're still probably going to do another thing because it's the New York Knicks, and I don't think they'll be content till they go ahead and make the NBA Finals. I'm trying to think what I want to say right here, but they're not going to be content till they make the NBA Finals. And I don't think they're going to be content till they're one of the most dominant teams in the league, while maximizing this 2, maybe 3-year window that they have. And I think they've put themselves in a position to make another move. But that's it. I'm done. I hope you guys did enjoy. Like, comment, and subscribe.